We're live. Yep. Yep.
Bueno, we were at the press conference. You told me your mom was in the hospital. Sorry, Kate? Got it. Oh, yeah. You've been all over the place. Dale, ya, Juan. Y la manera como
Mientras canto dile que no me escuchas, pues vive en mi corazón.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Please take your seats and look at together. Thank you very much. Sorry. Congressman, it is my distinct honor to welcome you to Red Miami-Dade County, the home of FIFA World Cup, the home of the G7, and most importantly, the home of the Donald J. Trump Presidential Library. We are the county that delivered a 22-point swing for President Donald Trump. We are the county that is the home of all freedom-loving people from throughout the world, from Cuba, from Venezuela, who come here for freedom, for liberty, and for opportunity. We are the home of people from New York and California who are here for economic liberty. We have to keep the free state of Florida free. Congressman, welcome to Florida, welcome to Miami-Dade County, and welcome to Versailles. It's my honor to introduce you all to Representative Mike Redondo, who is fighting the good fight in Tallahassee, leading our state forward, and is a champion for this community. Representative.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be here for my good friend Congressman Donalds, the next governor of the great state of Florida. I am Mike Redondo, a state house representative for District 118, and I'm here along with one of my colleagues, a fighter, Juan Porras, who's been here. He represents the District 119. Between the two of us, we represent West Kendall, East West Kendall as I call it, and West West Kendall as he calls it. But you have here the first state representative to have endorsed President Donald J. Trump originally, and the first state rep to have endorsed Byron Donalds. Ladies and gentlemen, Juan Porras.
Buenos días, Miami. Buenos días. That's what I like to hear. Bienvenido a todos. Welcome to Versailles, to Miami-Dade County. Like Chairman Cooper said, the freedom-loving county. I have the absolute honor to introduce the man of the hour, the most pro-MAGA Republican in Congress, the future governor of the great state of Florida, Byron Donalds. Before I give the mic over to the congressman, I want to say, Congressman Donalds, I think this is one of the most consequential times to be in Florida, with what's going on in the Cuban regime and with President Trump, with the fall of Nicolas Maduro. This county, this state needs a leader that truly fights for the Miami diaspora, for the Cuban American community, and there's no one in this state that will do that better job than you, Congressman. So thank you so much, and welcome to Versailles.
I'm too tall for that thing. I'm gonna move this thing down. I'm just messing with you, boys. I'm messing with you. Miami, it is great to be with all of you. It is great to be here. I'm excited to be here. Mike, Juan, thank you guys for your support, for your leadership in Tallahassee, what you're doing. Most people don't understand. I used to serve in the State House. I know what these guys have to contend with and deal with. You have work here at home. You have family here at home. You got to go back and forth to Tallahassee. It is a labor of love, because I think they only pay you guys like 29 grand a year. It is a labor of love to do that job, but thank you for serving Miami. Thank you for serving Florida. Really appreciate both of you guys. I'm gonna get to everybody. I want to make sure I get to them. We have Commissioner Natalie Orbis. Natalie, where are you? Where are you at? Where's she? Back there? All right, good. I know I saw him earlier. He might have had to go do some work. Anthony Rodriguez, Commissioner Rodriguez, he was here earlier. Kevin Cooper, doing a great job. Thank you. Great job. Francis Suarez, I know we were over at the counter. We had a little bit of coffee. I know he had to run because like he's in the private sector now, so in politics, a lot of people run and then you do this job for a while, and then when you leave, some people call it retirement. That just means you're on the other side. He's doing a great job. He's going to continue to do that. Mayor Calvo, where are you? Mayor Calvo is here somewhere. He was here. He had to go back. Listen, a lot of mayors got to go back to work. That's okay. I know he's here. Vince Lago, it's good seeing you, my friend. Mayor Fraga, I didn't see her earlier today. She might have came in briefly because she has to get all the way back. Traffic is it's a thing sometimes. Who you have yours? Former Mayor Bovo. It's good seeing you, my friend. It's good seeing you, my friend. Very good to see you. Commissioner Richard Lara. Commissioner. All right. Commissioner Ralph Rosado. Good seeing you, brother. That's a good tie. That's a good tie. This guy dressed up today. I'm going to mess up this name. Commissioner Ian Vallecillo. I didn't want to mess up your name, so they want to make sure I pronounce it right. I didn't want to mess up your name. And look, the last person I'm going to announce, well, two people. One, my friend, Sunshine Gasoline, Maximo Alvarez. Good to see you, my friend. I love you. This guy smokes some of the best cigars in Miami. Some of the best ones. And my other good friend, long time, before she became the president of Miami-Dade College. Just how far we go back. Madeline Puma Riega. Madeline's really sorry. So here's a couple things we want to lay out, and we're gonna just ask questions. I have a great dialogue. I want to hear from you. But we got to acknowledge something first. We want to take a moment of silence for the 3 members of our armed forces who have lost their life in this battle against tyranny against Iran. So let's take a moment of silence for these fallen officers. Thank you. Freedom isn't free. It's not. I want to thank President Trump for having the courage and the moral clarity to fight for America and to fight against tyranny around the globe. We know what's happening in Iran right now. And one thing I will tell you, knowing Donald Trump, is that he's been right on foreign policy way more than a lot of former presidents were right about foreign policy. And even though we're going to see what happens as Iran continues to unfold, it is clear that President Trump and Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, by the way, the best one we've had in 100 years. Going down to Venezuela to get Maduro out of that country and have him stand for the crimes that he's committed, not just against the Venezuelan people, but against the people of America. That is leadership on the world stage. We are grateful for President Trump for doing that. And let me also say this, now that Venezuela has decided that they want to cooperate and work with the United States of America, something is happening to this island nation not too far away. A stranglehold on that brutal communist, terrorist, dictator regime down in Cuba. They're in a vice grip right now. They are in a vice grip. And I know what you guys think. I'm gonna tell you what I think. It is time for the Cuban regime to come to an end. It is time for freedom to reign in Cuba and have real open relationships with the United States.
Amen.
The reason why I wanted to start there is that some people think that, oh, Byron, we have so much going on in our country. We got to be focused on our country, and I agree. And we're going to talk about a lot of the policies facing the future of Florida. But let's also be very clear that America does need allies. Because if we don't have allies, if we ignore what's going on in the world, that's how terror and communism spread. And to be really blunt with everybody, that's what the Chinese want. The Chinese want us to ignore what's going on around the globe. They want us to ignore it, and they want to continue doing Belt and Road and all the stuff they've been doing in Central America and South America. And we're just grateful to have a commander-in-chief who takes these threats seriously, is putting the American people first, and is making sure that America has strong allies where we can keep this grand experiment known as America going for another 250 years.
Amen.
Now to Florida. I don't know if you heard this, there's a race for governor. I'm running to be your next governor. I'm excited. I'm excited to have the endorsement of President Donald J. Trump. I'm excited to have the endorsement of our current senator, former Governor Rick Scott. To have the support of so many of our sheriffs, including your sheriff here in Miami, Sheriff Rosie. My friends in the State House and the guys I serve with on Capitol Hill and Congress who fight for Florida every single day. We're building a very strong and durable campaign, but campaigns are not just about endorsements. It's about your vision for the future. I'm 47 years old. I moved to Florida when I was 17. When I'm 77 years old, long past my time as your next governor, when I'm retired and having a cigar in my backyard, because trust me, I'm gonna have a cigar, Max. That's what I'm gonna do. When I'm 77, I'm still gonna be having a cigar. I wanna look back and marvel at how Florida has remained the best state in America. And so if we're gonna continue to be the best state in America, the first thing we have to acknowledge is the great work of our governor, Ron DeSantis. He has done a tremendous job leading our state. His commitment to law and order will remain. His commitment to conservative principles will remain. His commitment to common sense will remain. We will continue to fight DEI in our state. We're going to continue to be the best state in all of America, but we also got some work to do. It's about housing for our young people to make sure that they can actually build their dream in Florida. Like I said, I came here at 17 with nothing, trunk full of clothes. Married my beautiful wife, Erica, when I was 23 years old. And we started building that dream here in Florida. And now, 23 years later, I want to make sure that the young kids who are in our colleges and universities, they have that opportunity to build their dream also in Florida. It's about our seniors to make sure that the ones who are on fixed income trying to make ends meet, their property taxes isn't crushing them. We want to make sure that we push insurance costs further down in our state. The legislature did a great job with the governor to start that process. We're going to pick up the ball and continue to push prices down for the people who call Florida home. But it's also about expanding our economies. It's about expanding our economies. We're still going to be an ag state. We're still going to be a tourism state. We're still going to be a healthcare and construction state. But we are also going to become a financial state. Because New York is crazy. They got Mamdani. That guy's crazy. California is just plain stupid. I don't know what they're doing in California. They destroyed that place. And Illinois, I mean, they don't have a clue. People are going to choose Florida. Our responsibility is to have a plan for the future of Florida. How are we going to grow our state responsibly, balancing our environment with the housing that we need? How is Florida's government going to be efficient for the people that we have to serve? And these are going to be the questions that we are going to answer. That is going to be the policies we're going to pursue. We are going to make sure Florida remains the best state in the country. Last thing I'll say on this, and I'm going to open it up. I spent 17 years in the financial industry. Before politics, my career was banking, insurance, and financial services. I've never seen a company, I've never seen an organization, I've never seen a family get better by growing. Growth is a part of life. Listen, I understand the concerns, but we can't build a wall between Florida and Georgia. We can't build a wall. People are going to choose our state. So I say, let's have a plan for how Florida grows so we can accommodate that growth while maintaining the Florida that we all love. That is the future of our state. That is why I'm running to be your next governor. And so I'm really excited to be here with all of you guys in Miami. And let's open up the floor for questions. And the title of the event, Ask Me Anything. Let's have a good time. And there's a mic going around, so we're gonna get to it.
I think you remember me. We met at the community news event in Miami a couple months ago. I represent 65,000 plus veterans, investors, Floridians that have been defrauded in the market in MMTLP. MMTLP is yes.
Be clear.
Yeah.
When you say MMTLP, explain to people what that is.
MMTLP is a preferred share dividend that should have never been traded, but through market makers and companies selling illegal stock, they made our stock tradable, which it should have never. We have been defrauded. We have not seen any transparency in the market. And as the next Florida governor, that is positioning Florida as a financial state, All we are asking for as the 65,000 plus investors is transparency. We want a share count. If there is nothing wrong with MMTLP, what's the share count? You, as well as 74 congressional members, signed a letter asking Gary Gensler for transparency, and we have dead to rights Gary Gensler under oath lying to Congress through a FOIA, which I'm going to present to you. I did present it in DC on January 12th, where we had a press conference on the steps of the SEC. So this is a big issue. A Florida company, TradeStation, admitted that they could not deliver our shares because they oversold them. Nothing has been done in Florida with TradeStation, and nothing has been done at the congressional level beyond signing a letter. We want transparency. Will you push as Florida governor for transparency in our markets?
Great question. First, 100%, we are going to have transparency when it comes to financial transactions in our state. One of the bills that I authored when I was in the legislature actually dealt with making sure we were protecting seniors from disreputable investments. Thank you for that. I got this. And protecting seniors from disreputable transactions. We wanted to have protections for seniors in their investment and retirement accounts. So we are going to always push for maximum transparency. Second thing, Gary Gensler, the previous head of the SEC, was awful. And he was not transparent about a lot of things. We have a new head of the SEC. I will call him after this event, and we're going to get that ball rolling. Because you're right, it's about transparency, 100%. We will do that. You have my word on that. We will take care of that.
Thank you so much. I have two questions for you, Congressman. The first one, you mentioned, in New York and California, they're doing basically everything wrong. Maybe doing a campaign over there would be easy because you need to solve everything. So my first question would be, what is it that you think the current administration, like Governor DeSantis, or maybe the past administration, has fallen short, to solve, and how are you going to solve it? And my second question would be regarding the main attacks and criticisms that I have seen against you. For example, I have seen on social media or even by the other candidates, they accuse you of being a flip-flopper. They mention that you change your stance, for example, on property taxes, or that you attack Governor DeSantis with, when he abolished Black history, from schools. So the question would be, how can people, or how are you going to ensure that people can trust you, to basically do the right stuff, which in some cases is not the most popular one?
Real quick, hold on, let him keep the mic. I heard about the African American course. What were the other two?
Property taxes. I have seen, for example, with Alligator Alcatraz, because I think that there was like a quote of you saying that was impossible or something of the sort,
Okay.
and then you were, over there. So basically, yeah, that is some of the attacks.
Those two?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
all right. Because I want to make sure I address them.
of course.
Number one, when it came to the course on African American studies, there were actually two courses. The first one was one that College Board brought to the state of Florida. The state of Florida rejected that course because that course in the fourth module had a lot of issues dealing with DEI in that course in the fourth section. When the state of Florida said no to College Board, I 100% agreed with the state of Florida. I was asked on Capitol Hill about that, and I said, Florida is doing the right thing. That course should not be taught in high schools. Some of the subject matter that they were talking about, I don't agree with, but that's really 4,000 level college material, not stuff in the AP course in our high schools. The state of Florida and the governor were right to reject it. When they came back and decided to make their own African American studies course here in Florida, I read the entire syllabus, the outlines of the course, and I said, this makes total sense. The thing I had a slight disagreement about was, did slaves benefit from slavery? And that's the part where I was like, I don't know about that one, but the rest of it is good. So look, I would say in politics, what happens when you have a lot of detractors, to be blunt, is because they're losing. We'll put that aside. Property taxes. When it comes to property taxes, originally the conversation was about repealing all property taxes, homestead and non-homestead. Early on when this was a conversation, so I got asked about all property taxes, and I said, no, there's just no way you can do all property taxes. I think the governor obviously has gotten to the position of repealing homestead property taxes. I fully support the governor and what he's doing, because the truth is our people are not piggy banks for local government. Property taxes, homestead property taxes in particular, have doubled in the state of Florida the last decade. But your budget hasn't doubled in the last decade. And we have young people who are trying to get into the Florida economy, and they can't even get to the closing table. Forget owning the house, get to the closing table and get through escrow, because you have to front the first year of property taxes when you go into a new piece of property. So that creates a major barrier to entry for young people in our state. And for seniors on fixed income, it creates two problems. Number one, how are they going to afford it? They're retired now. The second piece is we have a lot of seniors who are now trapped in their homes. They can't even sell the house they're in today, because if they do and they buy a new house, their property tax bill is going to jump through the roof, because all the credits they've earned over years in Florida will evaporate because they go into a new property. So this is where the legislature, you two guys, and the governor and everybody else, we're going to have to figure out a game plan for how we do this. If they're not able to accomplish something, my first year as governor, we are going to either fully repeal homestead property taxes, or we're going to make sure that the people who are on fixed income in our state and young people trying to get into the game in Florida, we're going to have substantial tax relief for them, because they have to find a way to continue to call Florida home. Okay? What was the other question?
Alligator Alcatraz, and also the first question.
Let me answer the trust question. I got into politics about 16 years ago through the Tea Party movement. I was a registered Democrat when I was young. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. It's kind of one of those things. Changed parties in 2010. I became a conservative, a real conservative, in 2008. I remember my mother called me during the 2008 election, and she goes, "Aren't you excited that, about the election?" And I go, "What are you talking about, Mom?" She goes, "Well, this is historic. This is great for us." And I remember I told my mother, and I said, "Mom, I don't agree with Barack Obama. And you always taught me not to follow the crowd, but to research for myself." So that's what I did. I researched for myself, and I realized I did not agree with Barack Obama, so I didn't vote for him. In Congress, or frankly, at the state house level, I have one of the most conservative voting records in the country. Check the facts. I would tell, like the young people like to say, or Shaquille O'Neal, Google me, and you'll see it. If you look at my voting record, I don't care who's running the records. I have one of the most conservative voting records in the country. When I was in the state legislature, this is when the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting happened. I think the number was about 14. There were about 14 Republicans that voted no on that bill. And the reason we voted no is because that bill took away Second Amendment rights of young people in the state of Florida. And I made a promise to my constituents that I would always protect their constitutional rights. And so I voted against my party. A lot of guys who support me today, I voted against them too at that time, because shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. So let's make sure the records are clear. When it comes time to standing against the radical left, to be blunt, a lot of people in my party, they called me to do it. When we were trying to campaign across the country to make sure President Trump came back to office, there was a lot of people that did not get a phone call to go out there and take our message to the country. They called me to do it, and I was more than happy to do it. But forget Fox News and all that stuff today. When I was in the state house, like these guys, and nobody knew who I was, there were no followers on social media, there were no interviews happening, I was committed to conservative principles and conservative ideology and common sense, and that will never change.
A crucial question. What are we going to do about the senior citizens, housing, and all these lotteries that are flow around in the country? You got the numbers so and so, but you never get to get any one of these housing.
Are you talking about affordable housing for seniors?
Yes.
Florida, we need probably around 700 to 800,000 more affordable housing units, attainable housing units in Florida. Overall, in the country, we need about 8 million. Florida needs about 10% of them because we're growing as a state. We want to make sure that we're cutting through all the red tape and all the noise when it comes to housing. We have to, and this is where some people get concerned because they say, but Byron, that just means there's going to be more growth. The truth is, growth is coming whether you want it or not. That's the truth. I believe we got to have a game plan. Here in South Florida, a regional game plan in Southwest Florida where I live, Panhandle, I-4, rural Florida, and even the Duval area and Tampa Bay region. Each region needs their own growth management plan. As governor, we are going to work with local governments to deliver a durable growth management plan for the future of Florida. So we can build the housing we need, the affordable housing that we need, while also protecting rural Florida, protecting our agricultural lands, protecting our environment, the things that people love about Florida. If you talk about what it costs to put a new house up today, 30% of the cost is government. That's insane. We're talking about property taxes and insurance, but to house, 30% of the cost is government. And guess what? The developer is not eating the costs. The contractor is not eating the costs. You eat the costs. I eat the costs. The people who go buy the home are the ones that have to pay that. Government has to be efficient with people's times and efficient with people's money because money costs and time is money. And so the more time it takes to develop these projects and actually put a shovel in the ground, the more expensive it gets for you or it gets for anybody else. So our commitment is a Florida that is ruthlessly efficient when it comes to permitting, planning, and all operations of government, so we can drive down the governmental costs when it comes to housing and everything else. And I believe that actually brings down the cost of building new homes, which makes it cheaper for people to be able to buy and acquire those new homes. Is that fair?
Byron, some of the main issues here in South Florida are communism, revolve around communism. So there is an anti-communist bill already that's already filed that's really not being acted on. How will you work with developers who are like basically on the Chinese or Hong Kong Stock Exchange to prevent them from building here in Miami-Dade County, especially directly across from our port and major buildings that people may not be aware of?
Agreed. Now listen, this is a big problem. It's not just the Chinese, by the way. We do not want essentially front groups of our adversaries building property in Florida. And it's not just the communists, it's also radical Sharia. We do have an issue where the Muslim Brotherhood and countries that are not our friends, they do not believe in Western civilization. They do not believe in our way of life, where they are trying to build communities in our state. They're trying to do it in Texas too. They're trying to do it in Dallas right now. We are going to make sure that we stand in the way of that. We do not want that to occur, while at the same time balancing personal property rights. Because the foundation of our country is property rights and freedom of speech and freedom to petition. And those rights were not just enshrined in our Constitution because it sounded good. The framers of our nation, they watched the tyranny of the European kings for 1,000 years. And they knew that a system of government that respected individual liberty and economic liberty and religious liberty was critical to having this experiment of self-government continue. So we're going to be committed to self-government. That is going to remain, but we are also going to stop the communists and the radical Islamists from creating property in our state. We don't want that because they do not respect our way of life. They don't respect Western civilization. And if they're not going to assimilate to how we do our business, then we're just going to say thanks, but no thanks.
Hello, okay. I came from California and New York, moved to Florida, I became a Republican as soon as I moved to Florida.
You had a journey.
Yes, I did. And I became a new citizen and Republican when I moved to the state of Florida. What drove me here was your leadership and your wife's leadership to education. And this is an education question. I know Florida leads as a nation as parent choice, school choice, which I love. And it's important. I have an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old. What will you do as governor to continue to expand those opportunities of parents? Education is becoming very expensive, especially in Miami. The school choice is incredible for people like me, but how will you continue to expand that for parents who have the future, who want to keep their children here to grow in your financial vision that you have here? I don't want them to go to New York and work. I want them to work in the state of Florida.
So I'm going to tell you that. What's your name?
Matula,
Matula.
yes.
What you desire is what Mrs. Donalds also desires. My wife has a mandate. She wants her sons to raise their families in Florida. She doesn't want to get on the plane to go see her grandkids. You know, that's what she wants. And so this is something where, for me, I talked earlier about being 77 and being able to sit back and look at how Florida has still remained. Part of that is our young people staying in our state and building their Florida dream here. You said you came from California.
And New York.
And New York. Well, the New York thing we share. 40 years ago, California was the land of opportunity. That was the state everybody went to, and they destroyed the place. You remember those license plates and all that stuff, California dreaming? Well, the vision I have for Florida is Florida dreaming. We want the Florida dream alive and well here. Part of that is education. School choice will remain in Florida. This is something, when I got to the legislature back in 2016, I was a champion for school choice, and I will remain a champion for school choice. In South Florida in particular, the issue happening down here are seats. There just aren't enough seats for some of the private schools anymore. It's hard to build up the buildings in order to do that. That's one of the reasons when we're talking about permitting and housing, it's not just in housing. It's also been able to deliver private school seats if that's what parents choose for their child. We want to make sure that we're delivering those seats. This is also about working with the current school district. If there are schools where their enrollment is so low, then open up those classrooms for kids who are in other schools. That way, parents can actually take advantage of that within the fabric of Miami-Dade, or quite frankly, throughout the fabric of Florida. So that's how we're going to stay committed to that. I'll tell you this other story. When I got to the legislature, I used to only think about charter schools. I'm actually agnostic on the type of school. We're still going to have public schools in Florida, and we're still going to have charters. We're going to have growing privates in Florida. Also going to have micro schools. That's a growing segment right now in school choice. You have parents who still desire homeschooling, and we want to support them and continue to support them. It's about having an economy of education, so parents have the power to put their children in the best place possible. That's what my mom wanted for me. My mother took me out of public school when I was in first grade, kindergarten. I was too young. My mom was a school choice mom before it was even a thing. So I'm committed to this. We want to make sure we're delivering the seats. So there's ways where a kid, if there's not a seat available in the school, that we can find a way to construct that and build that so they have a seat in the school that you choose for your children.
Congressman, over here.
Oh, there you go. I'm gonna come to you, sir. Yes, sir.
I have 2 quick questions for you, bouncing off of things that you've already said. So, do you have any plan as a governor to walk back some of the restrictions we've had in our Second Amendment since the 2018 shooting, and maybe reduce the age to purchase a long gun, if not handgun, from 21 back to 18? 1. And 2, do you have a plan to potentially revoke or restructure some of the zoning laws here in Florida, especially here in Miami, where I think the median rent is something like $2,200, and 60% of all of the land here is structured as only single-family home? Do you have a plan to maybe get rid of some of that zoning, let people build what they want?
Let me deal with the Second Amendment first. We are going to repeal what was done back in 2019 around people being able to buy long guns. If you're 18 years old, you should be able to buy a rifle. Because if you're 18 years old, you're allowed to be tried in our courts as an adult. You're allowed to enlist in our military and go fight for this country. We obviously know you're allowed to go vote. And so if you're allowed to do those things, you should be able to go buy a rifle or a shotgun or a long gun. And we are going to make sure that gets done in my first year as governor. And let me just be clear, not to them, they agree with me. To some of my other colleagues who might be concerned, nothing else will happen in our state until we restore the Second Amendment rights of the young people in Florida. And I want to be very clear on that. Because if you can't respect constitutional rights, then all this other stuff we talk about is a moot point. Now to local zoning. This is something where I think we should work with local government. We should work with local government on this, because part of regional planning is figuring out where you're going for not just housing, but the new roads that you're gonna need, for commercial centers and where they're gonna go, for some manufacturing that you're gonna need it to grow your economies, and yes, some industry. I talked a little bit about finance. Let's talk about tech. Let's talk about tech in the future of our economy. What's gonna happen over the next decade, Cape Canaveral, Kennedy Space Center, we're gonna be doing it upwards of 500 to 1,000 launches per year out of Kennedy Space Center here in the state of Florida. We have a geographic advantage over everywhere else in the country, and we need to leverage that geographic advantage. When you do that, you have to start thinking about, well, where are we gonna build manufacturing plants for commercial space? And how are we gonna do that? So that's where I think regional planning is critical for the future of Florida. A lot of our counties have struggled with maintaining growth plans. And so we've seen as a result, a project gets put up over here, a project gets put up over there, this thing kind of drops over there. Hard to plan long-term road construction when you do it like that. So the roads get more jammed. We haven't really expanded them how we need to, and then people start to get frustrated. So to your zoning question, I believe we work with local government. This is the governor's office working with the county commission in Miami, in Broward, and in Palm Beach County about what is the growth plan for South Florida. Because here's what I know. All the mayors, some of them are standing over there. Here's the truth. People of Florida don't care what the jurisdictional lines are. They don't care that they went between Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. They don't care if they're in Manalapan, or Sweetwater, or Doral, or Hialeah, or the city of Miami, or the city of Miami Beach. They don't care. They're trying to live their lives, see their friends, pick up their kids, get to work, and move seamlessly from point A to point B. That's why the governor's office, in my view, we are going to lead on setting up regional plans for each part of our state. And they're all different. You know, Miami-Dade is a little different from the Panhandle. Little different. We want to make sure that we have growth plans that make sense for each part of Florida. So you can deal with the housing that is necessary while also thinking about the commercial development, which is also necessary. And we want to make sure we protect Florida in the process. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just answer my question.
Yeah, take this one.
I was, my name is Diego Ramos. I was a permit manager for Miami-Dade County, for the clerk's office. We had a lot of vendors trying to come here for electronics, mainly Motorola, IBM. But with the traffic problems in Miami, they didn't come. And those are a lot of jobs that are, starting jobs for people that immigrants that come, that, they don't know the English very well, but they can handle doing, transistors, stuff like that. And we need those jobs here. You answered most of the question already, because what you just said, we need to plan ahead. We need to have a very good, before we get these companies to come here, we need to fix the traffic. Miami's terrible in the traffic. And Miami is, like you said, it's very different from Tallahassee. It's a metropolitan, big metropolitan. And if we want to grow, we got to do that. We got to plan ahead, not wait till the things hit us. Okay? I like the way she thinks. I was in the economic committee with her. Oh, right. Natalie, ya no, pues, you're gonna be another man.
I'll make sure I know the other mic's floating around. I don't want to. Yes, sir. Yeah, we got to make sure we come down to this young lady down front too. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for your service. Two things real quick. The Voting Rights Act, how will that get passed? What's stopping it from getting passed right now? I know it's in the Senate, but I'd be interested in your take. What has to happen? The second thing I have is about.
Quick question. Are we talking about the Federal Voting Rights Act?
Yes.
Okay, continue. I'm going to answer, but go ahead.
Okay. Secondly, lawfare. I'm going to respectfully guess that you don't have Trump money. Neither does Marco. Neither does DeSantis. Are people going to go to jail for what they've done to Trump over the last 10 years? So they don't do it to you. So they don't do it to DeSantis, Marco, JD Vance. There needs to be consequences. Is something behind the scenes happening for people to get consequences for what they've done to Trump to make sure it never happens again? To you.
All right, well, listen, thank you for the question. I'm gonna take Voting Rights Act first, I'm gonna come to lawfare. Right now, the Supreme Court is hearing, I forget the section of the Voting Rights Act, but the one that deals with what affectionately is called racial gerrymandering. The Supreme Court is gonna decide in short order whether that's gonna continue to be the law of the land. I support the Supreme Court looking into this. My hope is that they do end racial gerrymandering, and here's why. There was a time, obviously 1965, where the Voting Rights Act as it existed originally was definitely needed. There's no doubt about that. But we have to acknowledge the reality of today's America, where it's not about the color of your skin. There was a time where it definitely was. We know what happened. The history of our nation at that time was just not very good. That's just a fact. The Supreme Court has already struck down what they called essentially having to get pre-clearance. The Supreme Court already struck that down. I live in Collier County, Florida. Collier County was a pre-clearance county under the 1965 Voting Rights Act. I've lived in Collier County now for 23 years. I've never had an issue as a black man voting in Collier County at all. And there has not been any issues for anybody who's a minority in the United States in Collier County the last 25, really, frankly, years, casting a ballot in Collier County, probably longer than that. So the Supreme Court looking at the Voting Rights Act is the right thing to do. What's happening in Congress is that we have Democrats who are trying to reinstitute the entire Voting Rights Act as it existed in 65, but that ignores the reality of America in 2026. And the truth is, the reality of America in 2026 is that you are not seeing what the actions of the previous Democratic Jim Crow South that systematically took away voting rights from Black Americans. That does not exist today. And that is why the Supreme Court is going to go through the process of reviewing the Voting Rights Act. If they strike down racial gerrymandering, which it sounded from the oral arguments that it's a strong possibility that that's going to occur, then what's going to happen is congressional districts will be shaped based upon jurisdictions, not just purely around race. And there was a time where that was needed. That time was in 65 through the 70s and even into the 80s. The question is, with America's political framework today, is that necessary today? And I don't think that it is. Now, to lawfare. This is a tough one. Let's talk about, are people going to be held accountable? This is where we have to be careful not to be the radical left. The very premise of our nation, in part, is the presumption that you're innocent until proven guilty. Even though in a court opinion, we can look and be like, oh yeah, you're guilty as hell. You're guilty. But the truth is, the way our system works is that there has to be a legally binding process where these cases are investigated and people have an opportunity to address a jury of their peers. If, as conservatives, we decide that we are so angry with the radical left that we take on their tactics, that is the way that this experiment called America falls apart. And we would do it to ourselves. I want to hold them all accountable. I do. And I think in part the way you do that is you expose how tyrannical they really are, which we've done, and then they lose political power as a result, which has happened. I think the next step is, whether it's the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, or our Attorney General here in the state of Florida, James Zuthmeier, if there is probable cause to continue investigation and bring charges, go right ahead and do that. Because the law cannot be a respecter of persons. The law cannot be a respecter of politics. The law cannot be a respecter of wealth. The law has to be evenly dispensed blindly for the entire fabric of the country, because that's the only way you can have a more perfect union. So I don't want it, trust me, I don't want it to happen to Marco, and I don't want it to happen to me. But that's why I believe we advocate for transparency. We expose this corruption when it occurs. I believe we have exposed that corruption as it occurred, and we've made sure the American people are aware of it. But the second piece is you still have to go through the legal process. And look, I get it. It's easy for the court of public opinion, especially on social media, to say you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do that, or that means nothing happens. The truth is there has to be an orderly legal process. Because if we let happen in America, quite frankly, what's happened in other countries around the world, where the pendulum just swings, that destroys your country. And that's not a statement for me. We have watched this happen around the globe. In many, many countries, Central America, South America, France in 1850, where the guillotines came out and you had the French Revolution, and that was destructive of the former French Republic. It was destructive. And I'm not a special pleader for the French aristocrats, but that is not the way you dispense justice. That's not justice, that is mob rule. And mob rule always leads to tyranny. I don't care what party you're talking about. Oh man, all right. Thank you, sir.
Hi, good morning, Representative Donalds. My
Hi.
name is Kevon Hicks. I am a small business owner and I'm also a college student, getting my bachelor's. I'm set to graduate this summer. So, thank you. Thank you. I actually have two questions for you, and I'm going to start with my first question. I know that you addressed the African American studies within the Florida school public system, but I would also like to know, what is your stance on critical race theory specifically?
Sure, I'm opposed to it. Critical race theory was a theoretical idea, quite frankly, of progressive professors that started in the mid 1970s. You can theorize about the issues of race. I don't think we should be teaching that in colleges. And the reason why is because then you create a worldview in the minds of a lot of young people today that assume that the country is against them. You're a black woman, I'm a black man. Here's the truth. If you wake up every day and assume that the country's against you, you've already shot yourself in the foot before you started the race. You can't do that. You can't do that. I had a town hall meeting when I was in the State House. This is 2018, 2019. I had a young kid in the audience. He was about 22 years old. And he said to me, he goes, I don't know if I can get ahead in America today. And I looked at him and I looked at my hands and I said, young man, you're 22 years old growing up in America today. This is the greatest time of opportunity in our country for young people in the history of our country if elected officials make sure that we have government being efficient so you're not wasting your time and your resources in college classrooms which are giving you a degree that is not panning out to put food on the table. Two, we make sure you have a pathway to real success, not forcing everybody to get a college degree, because that's what happened to me in my generation. And we quickly realized just because you got a piece of paper doesn't mean you're on a pathway to being successful. So what I prefer to do with our time and with the resources of the state of Florida is not theorize about the damage of race and racism and slavery, etc., from previous iterations of America's history. Should we know about it? Of course, let's know in your history. Should we dwell on it and have it shape the worldview of our citizens going forward? No, we should not. We should not tell a young white kid that they now have to take a step back for another kid. We should tell all our kids, this is how it works. You have to work hard. You have to be passionate. You gotta be focused. A lot of times when you're building success, you're building a business. You built the business.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Did you build that business worrying about anybody else?
Actually, no, I didn't. I built that business worrying about myself, my future, and who I wanted to be in this world and who I wanted to show up as.
You said it better than I could.
Thank you.
And that's rare, because it's rare somebody says it better than I do, but you did. But that's the path to success. The path to success is what you just described. So I commend you for that. I commend you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Representative Donalds, I just have one more question. So in Miami, we used to have programs for teens for them to get a job during the summers. We had a bunch of summer programs, and we no longer have those programs anymore. We have programs for teens to get into the arts, finances, just like you, just different jobs. We don't have those programs anymore, and I just would like to know, where do you stand on implementing programs for teens to keep them out of the streets, to give them a head start in their lives, and just to give something to the younger people?
Well, I want to examine those programs in part because I do agree it's important for young people to work. I think it's critical. Apprenticeships going forward are going to be essential for the workforce. When I say not everybody should get a college degree, and I believe this, not everybody should go to college. I think a lot of people need to get the skills and the credentials they need to go directly into the workforce. When I travel the state of Florida, a lot of our business owners, you're the latest in the long list, they're not college graduates. They had a job that they worked at, they were passionate about, they figured out how to bring it together and buy a truck or buy a piece of property, and they started building and building, and then you look back years down the road and they employ so many people, a lot of them college graduates. So I think it's important to explain to the young kids, If you have a job in the summer, that is a good thing. If Miami-Dade and the state can help you get there, let's examine the finances of that, because we don't want to start a program, sounds cool, but then we don't have the money to continue the program. But when it comes to technical education, workforce education, we have a strong commitment to that. I want children, whether they graduate high school, the state college system, or the university system, that when they walk across whatever stage that is, they have the skills to put food on the table, put a roof over their head, find that girl. I'm a guy, so I'm gonna say, find that girl, get married, have some kids, and build their dream in Florida. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning.
Good morning to all the audience that is present today. Kevin, please, if I lack a little bit of English,
Doing great.
please feel free to translate. First of all, I want you to know that I'm gonna be working with Kevin Cooper. I'm a committee woman, and I will make sure to give my best to be able to have you as our governor in the future. Thank you so much. So second bit, I'm here on behalf of my 18 years old son. I'm very proud to listen to you today and knowing that the youth and children in general are very important in your life. So to give you a little bit of context, I'm gonna ask for just 1 minute. My son and myself, we had the opportunity to meet you in Doral when we met Trump also, because my husband was in charge of Trump Versailles One at that moment. That's why we had the opportunity. And he wanted me to be here today, my son, to thank you, because you were a very important person on his life path. So last year, when he was getting graduated, dual major, excellent student, he started receiving all this opportunity to attend colleges. So he was overwhelmed. He didn't know what to do. And he said, you know what, Mommy, I'm gonna read about Byron Donalds. I remember that I met him in Doral. So because I'm saying this, one of the great offers was to study in FSU honors. And yes, and he learned about you, he learned about your path, your trajectory, and he was very impressed. And he said, probably based on these facts, this will be my right path to take. Now he's thriving, he's excelling in FSU, studying again, double major, mathematics and physics. And he's also looking to be part of AMM through the missiles program, research program. And one more time, that's because of you and the American dream that is possible for a lot of people that came from Venezuela or any Hispanic countries. Thank you so much for your time and listening to my story.
Thank you. And I'm happy for him. Tell him I said go Knowles. Tell him I said go Knowles.
Great, thank you.
I think we got time for one more, then we gotta wrap. Oh, we don't? Oops. Well, I did. We got time for one more. Yes, sir. Last one. Last
Hi,
question.
my name is Adrian. I got two questions for you. One of them is we got a task force created last month to investigate all those agencies who make illegal business with the Cuban government here in Miami-Dade. We got Daria Fernandez. We are investigating over 150 agencies working without license. Are you willing to take this to a state level, not just Miami-Dade, to the whole state?
Real quick, yes, I am. The key thing we gotta do in our state, and this is why I believe efficiency is where Florida now needs to lean into, and up top to bottom. Governor DeSantis has started a lot of this work. We're gonna make sure that we work hard to finish this work. And we want it to be consistent over time. The reason why you gotta be efficient with resources, so you can expose some of these fraudulent businesses that occur. And that's what we wanna do. We wanna make sure people are being protected. Efficiency and transparency are critical to that.
My other question is, during the last investigation, Blaise Nolia knows that he also knows that there's over $406 million misspent here in Miami-Dade. There is no accountability for it, and that's money coming out of our pocket. I'm a 26 years old and I have 2 jobs.
So
We need some accountability and transparency.
here's how this, you're right about that. Here's how I see this working. It's one thing, and this is what Blaze is doing and the governor are doing are very important. I'm glad they're doing it. All of the doging that's occurring at the local governmental level, all of that is going to remain. We're also going to be doing doging of every state agency. All of that is going to remain. All of it. But hold on. One thing I want to add to that. It's one thing for that to occur, and then we explain what we found at a press conference or tell the press or whatever. You know how when there's like a hurricane or there's an emergency and you get a text message? What we want to do is that when these audits are available, no matter what part of government you're talking about, the citizens get a text message. Hey, here's an alert. These audits have been done. Go click here and actually examine what's going on. Because the only way you're going to have real transparency and accountability is that the citizens have to be informed of what is happening. And look, with all due respect to the press, a lot of people don't listen to you guys. So it's important that we communicate directly to the people the same way we communicate to you about there being a traffic accident, or unfortunately, if we all get the Amber Alerts, unfortunately, if something's happening with a kid, we need to be that transparent when it comes to government spending. That's what I'm committed to. Because like Benjamin Franklin said at the end of the Constitutional Convention, and he was asked, well, Dr. Franklin, what do we got? Monarchy or a republic? And he said, you have a republic if you can keep it. And the only way you can keep it is to be informed about everything your government is doing. And we are going to make sure that you guys have access to all the information of your government, whether it's local, county, state, so that you're informed about everything happening in our government, and that informs you in the political decisions you make, so we can keep Florida as the #1 state in America. Well, listen, I just want to thank everybody for coming. I really appreciate you guys. The campaign is going great. We're excited about everything. Polling looks good, but we're going to keep fighting. We've been in 54 counties. We're going to be in every county in our state. God bless you guys, and thank you for being here.
No, I don't have it right now.